What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Brass Tack Bodybuilding. I got a great episode for you guys today. I'm joined by Mr. Justin Mihaly himself. We went over a bunch of cool stuff regarding adversity, AQ and EQ, emotional intelligence, how they correlate with one another, the role that they have in determining somebody's potential to succeed in life, whether that's regarding business or bodybuilding, what role it really plays in bodybuilding, the state of the fitness industry today, what's wrong with it, training, a lot of good stuff. I think there's a lot of value in this one, and everybody out there that's watching this, hopefully there's something that you could take away from this podcast and implement into your life to better it. Hopefully, that's why I do these. But before we get started here, make sure you like this video. I really do appreciate it. It helps a lot. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And if you have any questions regarding anything or anybody you specifically want to see me bring on to the show, then make sure you drop a comment as well. I know a lot of people want to see Phil, Mr. Viz, come back on, and he will be. Probably the next episode. Not sure, but he definitely will be back on soon. And as always, if you order anything from HD Muscle, always use code SEB to get 10% off any order. I really do appreciate that as well. This PhD Black has been my go-to pre-workout for the past couple months now, and those of you who follow me know that I'm not the biggest fan of high stim pre's, but this is their version of a high stim pre, and it's really not that crazy. I just don't really like those crazy, super, meth-like pre-workouts, but this has 300 grams of caffeine, milligrams of caffeine, grams would be crazy, per 2 scoops, which isn't bad at all. Formula is really good, and I love it. It tastes great. Strawberry mango has been my go-to. Put that in 12 to 16 ounces of water, and we're solid. I throw in like 2 scoops of Create HD as well to get 10 grams of creatine, and that's pretty much my go-to pre-workout stack, and that's what it probably will be for the foreseeable future unless they drop another banger. But yeah, check it out, guys. Code SEB, and without further ado, let's get right to the podcast. All right, I'm here with Justin Mihaly. How you doing, man?
Dude, I am doing phenomenal. Thanks so much for having me on, dude. I feel like we've chatted about this for quite a bit, coming on each other's shows. So I'm excited to be here with you, and you're going to be on mine in a couple of weeks. That'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. For those of you watching who don't know who Justin is, he is the host of the Grow or Die podcast, which, if I'm not mistaken, has been doing pretty well this year now.
We're doing pretty good, man. Things are definitely moving in a great direction. We have some amazing sponsors on the show now. I'm really happy with the growth. Very grateful.
That's awesome. And you have a whole studio, right? Because I'm just doing this in my separate bedroom, but you got a whole thing set up.
Yeah. So about a year and a half ago, I was like, dude, there's a lot of people listening to this show and like sharing the show and giving me really positive feedback. I had a studio at the house. I was just doing it out of there. It was kind of all solo episodes at the time. I had some co-hosts here and there, but I was like, I really want to double down because it's fun having great conversation. It's fun being able to provide value in a long form content piece to people. So I found a studio in downtown Austin that I started going to, and it's just like anything else. But especially the delayed gratification of bodybuilding, you can't fake it, right? You can't fake being a good bodybuilder. You can't fake being a good coach. You can't fake getting in shape. Man, podcasting's very humbling. There is not a single metric that can be faked. Like, people are either listening and they're enjoying, or they're not. And when they're not, you have to diagnose and configure why. You can't lie to yourself. You can't act like it's not happening. And not every show hits. Some shows don't perform well. That's okay. Yet I decided to really, dive into it deep the way that I did coaching, the way that I did bodybuilding, and make it something. And it's crazy to think that it's become something. I get paid to talk into a microphone.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking cool. And how long ago did you start the podcast?
Dude, great timing on the question. Tomorrow is the 4-year birthday of the Grow or Die podcast.
That's awesome. 4 years. Wow. That's a commitment. That's a long time.
And it's a very expensive venture to really do it at all, but do it the right way. It's really expensive. So I've had an editor for the entire time. I've had a professional studio the entire time, whether it was at my house or at the studio now. As you know, the recording software can get really expensive. In December of 2023, it was the first month that the podcast was ever profitable. So I went
You're talking about like 3 months ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
The podcast costs a lot of money to make. In December, we finally were in the black at the end of the month for the show. So it took that long, that much investment, that much time. And again, it's just like bodybuilding. Like I went all in.
Mhm.
You go all in for 3 years, 4 years, and you can become pretty good. Like all in, like not, in bodybuilding, not missing meals, not missing subs, not missing health, not missing train, not miss like that's how it is with podcasts. I mean, this is my life. I'm reading all three of these books this week, and you got to get them done. You got to continually increase the value that you're able to bring to your people. It's a little challenging to do alongside running together more fitness, alongside keeping my own physical and mental health in check. But I mean, dude, I feel like we're similar in the fact that I go all in and I just figure the rest out later.
Yeah, 100%. It's just like with anything, any business, there's always a lot more time you have to put in before you ever get anything back with bodybuilding, years and years before you get anything back. I think the one thing is like coaching you is like immediately profitable, right? There's not a lot of upfront costs. It's all in.
Right away.
How long have you been coaching for?
This is 11 years.
Holy shit. Wow.
Yeah, 11 years. I was kind of an OG. And now I feel like I'm still young. I'm only 30. I turned 31 this year, but it sort of feels like I'm like one of the older guys now.
Yeah, you're getting there with all the
I
new
know.
generation. I don't know if I found you through Phil or Nick. I think it was originally Nick because you're friends with
Yeah,
him, right?
yeah. Yeah, Nick and I have been friends for quite some time. Man, back before his North Americans prep. He and I have been just social media supporters. He's been on my show. We have an amazing podcast together. Um, but man, he's a great guy, great ambassador for the sport. There's a lot of people, I guess, over the 11 years I've seen change, if you will. But man, Nick just loves bodybuilding. If Instagram was deleted tomorrow, Nick would still show up the same way he does for bodybuilding, and that's rare.
It is rare now. Most people, do it solely for the social media aspect.
They do. Yeah, but it's difficult because it's hard to fault them too much when a lot of that is the social media companies have been able to hack our psychological codes and override our dopaminergic response. And I love sitting there and chatting about, well, if Instagram was gone tomorrow, like you wouldn't be competing, but like yeah, if no one listened to my podcast, I wouldn't do my podcast. If there wasn't a show for a stage, I wouldn't coach bodybuilders. If there wasn't gratification in helping people achieve like their peak mental and physical fitness, I probably wouldn't coach people. So it's like, are they really all that wrong for it? Then, probably not, but there's probably a little bit more done for the gram, if you will, than what maybe we give ourselves credit. And I would love to hear your thoughts on that, but I just think social media companies are winning at the end of the day. So and the IFBB and NPC can capitalize on that.
Definitely. I think it makes sense. Like you can't fault them. Of course, it's an opportunity, right? It's almost like you see this huge opportunity within the fitness industry. All you got to do is work out, post some content. You're kind of stupid if you don't go after that in this day and age, right? You're just missing this huge window of opportunity. And you see guys that literally work out for a year, and some of it's luck, some of it's not. Like you got to obviously do the work and put out the content. Aside from obviously, you don't have to be a 100% full bodybuilder, but you see guys make it relatively easily. So yeah, if I grew up exposed to all that because it was just starting, it was like when Bradley Morton just started posting when I got into this, it was very rare. But if I saw it now, I'd be like, fuck yeah, this is like an easy opportunity. That's how I would see it. That's what it looks like. So you can't fault them. But at the same time, I do think there is a huge difference in the results that will take someone versus the guy that actually loves bodybuilding and that's his craft and he'll do it whether social media shuts down or not versus the guy that's doing it because he sees it as an outlet of potentially some easy financial gain.
Yeah, that's a great thought too, because there's certainly in terms of the top level of male fitness influencers and female fitness influencers, well, especially female, but focusing more on men as men get paid more from bodybuilding. The top level of fitness influencers definitely make a lot more money and get a lot more attention than the top level of bodybuilders. Now, we're gonna like exclude Bum said from that, because honestly, he's at the top of both. Like
Yeah.
he's top influencer and top bodybuilder. But if you take like, and I don't know numbers, but if you take like David Lade or something like that, is that his name? The
Dave.
Gymshark guy.
Yeah. Dave. Yeah.
You take him and compare it to, I don't know, maybe Derek Lunsford. I would be pretty surprised if Lunsford made, more profit from fitness than David Lay did. And maybe he does, but the fact that it's even a conversation
Yeah.
shows, well, Derek has dedicated his whole life to this thing. And I'm not quite sure exactly what David Lade posts. I know one of my good friends is good friends with him, which is how I know who he is.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm pretty sure he's like kind of a skinny dude, right?
Yeah, I know Dave. Dave doesn't live that far from here, but what happened with Dave is he started around that same time when it was fairly new. It was right after Men's Physique came out and Jeff Side kind of started that whole fucking era of
Jeff Side,
aesthetics.
I remember him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Jeff Side, Matt Ogus, they were like the original, and then in comes David Lade, this skinny aesthetic kid that kind of resembles that Jeff Side look. Everybody clinged onto it, had a video go viral on YouTube, and he just was posting a lot. And he was a power lifter. He was deadlifting a lot. He's a lanky kid. It just caught on to that crowd of kids that were attracted to aesthetics, and then he turned it into making more cinematic edits on YouTube, which nobody had done, and nobody still really does it the way that he does, where he's just implementing these like intros that really have no relevance to fitness. But it kind of gained him this huge audience where he was doing something different, and it kind of just blew off from there, and he just fucking went mega viral. But yeah, I
Very,
mean, he's been injured for years.
really
Yeah.
very cool. I guess I just became familiar with him rather recently. But it's I go back and forth on this. I recently had a show with Dr. Romy. She's the author of the Busy Brain book, and she made a comment that I didn't quite agree with, but that's the beauty of the podcast. She said social media has brought no good to our world. But she's a neuroscientist. So she's coming from this neurological background, which she's not wrong.
Yeah.
If you're looking at brain activities or neurodegeneration or the attention spans or the ability to recall memory, I mean the rates and how fast they're dropping is seismic,
Terrible.
and it's happening in adolescence. It's, I mean, 7 and 8 years old are on the iPad and getting all this exposure, these things. It's like, man, is their brain even going to form? Yet I argue that for me, social media is, it made my life quite well, and I'm grateful for it. I've met a lot of friends such as yourself through social media. It gives us the outlet to coach people from around the world, got me introduced to bodybuilding, made my podcast well known. So I love it, but man, when you sign on your social media feed, you need to be real careful with what you're consuming. I do feel strongly about that. And as I'm sure you see, Sebastian, in the fitness industry, it's like, dude, if you go through and you like one female's post that is like someone you might know, or maybe you don't know, or whatever, it's a little bit risque, all of a sudden you're on Pornhub. Like it looks like Instagram turns to Pornhub. Like it's terrible for your brain, in that realm.
You hate it. I literally will see it and I'll just start blocking people so I don't have to
I
see it
know.
because people feed into it, and obviously it makes sense why. It's just male attraction they give in, but it's fucking cancer almost. It's such a distraction. I don't even want to see. It's like forced on you.
It is. I have a lot of clients. I have a lot of female clients who are involved in the OnlyFans and modeling space and things like that. So like you follow them, right? And actually, I have a rule. You will never find me liking one of my female clients like risque photos or anything. But dude, the fact that you even follow them, like it turns that place into a cesspool. But like I said, like you alluded to, they haven't figured out. Men love attraction and beauty. And whatever women love, they love. But these companies just keep throwing it in front of you. And I did a show with Connor, the owner of Man Talks, a huge Instagram page for any man listening to this show. Highly recommend following Man Talks. We did a show, and we were talking about the unrealistic expectations that stuff brings,
Hmm.
like the unbelievably perfect airbrush, face tuned, whatever TikTok or Instagram post. And like, now you got dudes that are sixes trying to like they're leaving their dating bracket to like shoot up higher. And dude, it just turned massive men's mental health crisis going on right now, which I guess I try to use my platform for.
Yeah. Would you call it, because when you say mental health crisis, it sounds like there's something going on where people are necessarily aware of it. And I think what you're referring to, like men aren't even aware of that it's an issue. Like how guys
No,
talk
I don't
about,
think men are aware. I don't think men are aware.
yeah, no, it's like with porn addiction, right?
Mm-hmm.
People, everybody's heard of that, the consequences of it, how it can interfere with relationships, just your expectations, how you view women. But it's almost like Instagram's pretty much the same fucking damn thing, because you
Not
could be in a
far.
relationship with the best person in the world, right? And now all of you see click one thing, now you're forced to see all these things, and obviously it's a test of loyalty, right? You're going to be tested as a man, but it's when it's pushed on you like that 24/7, it just can't be fucking good for you. And it creates this subconscious thing where you see that person, that person. Now you're making these comparisons. That's just not realistic. It's not reality. And it's all kind of just fucks you.
Everyone has a threshold, though, Sebastian. The most loyal person in the world, the fucking Dalai Lama, has a threshold,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when it's continually cast in front, and you know, especially about the lack of awareness that men have, there's a glamorization of female mental health, and there's a taboo around men's, and it's quite unfair. Um, but there's a low testosterone, low norepinephrine, high dopamine type of system that we're in right now. And if you go back even, 30, 40 years, you see those three are more entangled than they are now. But right now, you can be low T, low norepinephrine, and you can be high dopamine because of social media. And that's filling this purpose inside of you and creating this purpose inside of you, that is really just an empty void. And then, a man without purpose is that's a dangerous man, not in a good way. If you're not working towards anything, men have all this energy, dude. There's so
Mm-hmm.
much,
Mm-hmm.
but we're supposed to be leaders. Like we're supposed to have, based on evolutionary biology, we are, right? So you lose your purpose, and fuck, dude, that gets really dangerous.
How do you think most men feel like they necessarily have that purpose? Because I know if I'm not, working or doing things that are pushing me forward, it affects me mentally. I just am very aware of it. It's like I'm not doing everything I should be doing. And even when I'm doing what I should be doing, it's this constant need of I can be doing more, 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 more. Um, I don't think a lot of people feel that way though.
14 million eligible working class men right now in America are choosing to not work. And the overarching reason behind why is because men have been made to feel that the only thing they add to society is based on the value that they put forth. So the income that they make, or how purposeful their life is, or the people that they're helping, or the impact that they have. And it's very difficult to achieve any sort of status. So rather than trying to put effort into climb the social hierarchy, when the same dopamine response can be achieved with porn addiction or video games or alcohol abuse or whatever the case may be, they're just choosing to do the latter rather than the former, take an easier path out. And you know what, Sebastian, I used to be like, buckle up your bootstraps, get to work, do your thing. Dude, it's fucking hard. It's fucking hard, man. It's absolutely challenging to just fucking get to work and do it. Like it's a luxury belief that I used to have because I think similar to you, I just work, dude. I don't know. I work. I want achievement. I want the
Mm.
next I want the next metric of impact. I want the next happy client, and I want the next W. I want the next whatever. But my God, dude, like, what's your fulfillment? Because every single time I get that next W or that next high or that next sponsorship or that next big viewer mark or the next whatever doesn't last. I mean, having a fucking cheeseburger gives me more pleasure for a longer time than those metrics do. And for you and I, we're lucky that we're chasing something just way bigger than I think maybe what we can conceptualize. But my God, 14 million, like that's not by accident. That's the most of all time. That's more than doubled in the last 20 years. And you can, live on assisted government aid or funding or whatever and play video games and have vices that, like I said, give you the same dopaminergic response as climbing up the social hierarchy. So, like, what do you really prefer?
Yeah, it's short-term satisfaction versus long-term. I think someone like me or you, we've basically programmed, like rewired. I don't know if rewired because it's the way that I've originally been wired since I was young, is not finding pleasure in short-term satisfaction. Everything was away. There's like bodybuilding. I was bodybuilding when I was 14 years old. I knew this is going to take 10 years. There was no immediate satisfaction. Everything, building a business, it's everything I've done. There's always been this long-term play. It's not, I rely on this short-term satisfaction. I think people grow up now with social media where they're just scrolling and all they know is short-term. So anything long-term is just, why the fuck would I do that? What's the point? Why would I make valuable content and get basically no views for 3 years, even though it's building a community, rather than just try to make viral content every day and just get a bunch of meaningless followers, right? Because that's all they care about. Dopamine.
Yeah. It's the hijacking of our entire reward system, but you can absolutely take control of that. It's just the discipline to take control of a brain that has been so warped is because you're not going to get a reward satisfaction feeling when you start doing the right things. If you have a completely hijacked dopamine system and you're 400 pounds, you know how fucking hard it is to start eating healthy. You know all the health risks. You know how bad you feel. You know that you're having a miserable life and you're going to die with all these comorbidities that are preventing you from being able to seek any sort of longevity. But you know how fucking hard that is to change. Like, dude, it's your brain. Like, they're doing some fascinating stuff now. These I call them hypercaloric. The hypercaloric individuals, fat people, they're being prescribed HRT because obviously they all have low testosterone. And obviously having testosterone can lead to dopamine in the brain, can lead to norepinephrine. It will make you increase drive, increase motivation. And like they're seeing these people move and walk and lose weight and make better decisions and all of that stuff, which I find fascinating. I'm super down for. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about something like Ozempic, but what I do feel very strongly about is, well, you know what? If someone's got low testosterone, you might as well fucking make it high. Within range, we don't need 2000 nanogram per deciliter people walking around super fat. But if you can take a super fat person, give them an 800 test level, shit, there's not a chance in hell that they don't get a little bit more driven and move more and make better choices from that.
Okay, so with that being said, do you think this low testosterone epidemic that we have with all these kids that have low testosterone, do you think that is directly correlated with the whole short-term satisfaction, addicted to TikTok, not willing to do anything that actually takes real effort? Do you think that's directly correlated?
Yeah, great question. We know for men that there's a positive testosterone response to achievement, to having women's respect, to winning competition, real competition, not video game. Video game has a small effect, but it's going to be hijacked again by the dopaminergic response. If women respect you, if you beat man in physical or mental ventures like a game of chess, we know that there's positive correlation to your testosterone level. So we need to compete. Like, men are supposed to compete. Women subconsciously are constantly competing. There's tons and tons of research. It's absolutely fascinating. Men don't do that subconsciously. Men have to approach competition. Men have to get into competition. And if you're not in competition, and like we see this right now, like 7, 8, 9-year-olds aren't playing sports, they're doing whatever. There's still a ton that are playing sports, but they're whatever they're doing. You're not in competition, you're not learning competitive drive. Like if me and you were playing a game of basketball, I like you, but for that next 11 points, I want to destroy you. I want to win. to nothing. And you're going to feel the same way about me, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what venture we're doing. Like, you need to have physical activity. You need to get in the gym. You need to learn adversity. You need to have these things. So the low testosterone is, number one, I think, rooted in a society that is anti high testosterone men. So men aren't feeling much respect, but also men aren't earning respect because they're not out winning competition, trying to move up the hierarchy status. Some people might disagree with that. That's okay. You can head over to the Grow What I podcast, see how many experts I've had on that are literally conducting this research right now, talking about it's completely overwhelming. Someone always gets offended by it, but I mean, this is very factual and it's pretty hardcore facts right now. Men must compete forever. As soon as, example for you, man retires from workforce age 65 or 70, and all of a sudden he doesn't have these peers that he's surrounded by that he wants to outdo. So what does he do? Well, he focuses on, his garden, which is cool. He's surrounded by his wife all the time. He might go for a walk. He's watching PGA Tour. There's no competition anymore, and that's when people start aging so fast and therefore dying. Most people die before years and years and years before they actually die, and I think that that's sad, but that's my thoughts.
So at this point, where do you find competition?
Oh my goodness, this podcast, dude. The fucking podcast. My clients, I mean, I still train like 40, 50 competitors right now. We've got a big year coming up, but I watch those numbers maniacally. And the podcast sponsorships, the numbers for the podcast. I am really good friends with a guy who has the third biggest podcast in the world right now. And he and I'll chat, we'll link up, and we'll hit a training session, and he has fans coming up and taking photos and all this, but then I kick his ass in the set, and it's like, that's fun competition. Um, Intellectual competition is a lot of fun for me. So like, I'm reading these 3 books, and I set a timeline for myself to have all of them done within 7 days. That's fun as fuck. Like, being able to defeat myself. Dude, it's honestly, it's like the little shit too, Sebastian. Like, you're in the gym, like you and I get in the sauna, you're getting out before I'm getting out. You and I get in the tub, you're getting out for I'm like I make everything competition. When I'm walking Peyton sometimes, Sebastian, this is so funny, dude. It just sums me up. I'll pick someone up there who's like in good shape, and I'm gonna pass them. I'm gonna pass them just walking by a certain marker that I pick out. Like, little things like just compete. Everything is a literal competition. There is a winner and a loser everywhere in life. There is no ties. There's no nothing. It is winning or lose. That's the grow or die mentality. You're winning or you're losing. So I turn everything into a competition.
Yeah, so you don't have to be competing with somebody else. You could just be competing with yourself.
Absolutely, you can. But you've got to learn that. I think you've got to learn that through competing with other people and like having an athletic background or some sort of creative outlet. Maybe you were a violinist and you had a duel, or whatever the case may be. Like, you want to be the best violinist that you possibly can be. I still think that without physical fitness, you're not going to be able to understand competition very much. I think that's the root of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And as men, right, isn't defeating another man in physical battle like the most gladiator style thing you could possibly do?
Yeah, but I think a lot of people try to like disregard that type of shit. You're like, oh, it's 2024, it's different. But what you're saying is 100% right. The way I see everything is kind of like as a competition. I guess now that you put it that way, like it's always me trying to challenge myself. I see everything as a test. I've said this a lot of times. I have back surgery coming up in 2 weeks, right?
Oh,
And
no way, dude. I didn't know that.
yeah, so I have a back surgery for my herniated disc, and a lot of people will be like, "Oh, it's the end of my career. It's bodybuilding. It's what the fuck are you gonna do?" And I'm just
Yeah.
here waiting to get over with it because the way that I see it is, okay, this is another test. Try
Yep.
me. I'll fucking overcome this. I'll come out. I'll have this crazy transformation. I'll go get
Yep.
my fucking pro card. Like, this is a
Yeah.
test, and I'm gonna fucking win. But it's just that's how I view like the majority of situations in life.
I love that, dude. I love that. I'm sorry to hear about your back surgery, but I know that you're going to bounce back real fast. People do say the whole 2024 thing, and to that I would say, it depends how religious you are and whatnot, but we have some pretty strong understanding that humans have been around, or humanoids have been around, for about 300, 400,000 years. And in 404, I think the year 404, I believe Romans were still fighting gladiator style in the Colosseum. So we've been around for 300 to 400,000 years, and that was only 1600 years ago. So it's a very small time frame in terms of how long we've been here.
Yeah.
Um, Technology changes fast. Humans don't change near as fast, other than the current attention and testosterone disorders that we have going on.
Well, I think things have changed pretty rapidly. It's even substantially different from how it was when I grew up. But I think it comes back to what you said previously, that a lot of these kids don't deal with adversity, and adversity can come from a lot of different things. It can come from sports or just shit you deal with at home in your home life. Bullying. You always hear people say bring back bullying, and I don't know. I don't know if I want to say that, because bullying, it sucks to be bullied, but it makes you fucking stronger, right? It
Does.
builds that resilience. And I think now in the past 10 years, you see, the iPad generation, everybody's coddled. The kind of world has shifted this way, and kids don't really have that adversity. And you see the huge mind shift change from this new generation versus what was even happening between the past 5 to 10 years ago.
So what's the next generation of adversity look like? Getting your iPad taken?
Maybe.
I mean, how old are you?
I'll be 25 soon.
Yeah, so when we grew up, we were like riding bikes and like running around the neighborhood, and like, and not to say that's not still happening, not to say that we are some messiahs of how people should be raised. And like, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not trying to be I'm not trying to champion my own chariot. What I'm saying is, holy crap, dude, we were racing bikes. We were like toilet papering people's houses. We were like stealing things that we shouldn't be stealing. We were like ding dong ditching. We were, I don't know. It's just, it's so different. So like what is the next metric of adversity when there's not physical conditioning happening in schools? There's not winners and losers. There's I mean, there's schools that don't even have A's and F's on their report card.
That's
Life
crazy.
is that way. Life's just not that. Yeah, it's just quite frank. Life is not that way. So I have Tim Kennedy coming on my show soon. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but we're gonna chat about that pretty in depth. When he comes on, it's I like, where do you go? Where do you go from here?
I don't know, because you see it everywhere with this new generation. I'm not sure how big you are on TikTok. I mean, I've a good amount of experience on there, and you could just see the difference in how those kids act, and even on Instagram too, it's just less prevalent because TikTok is all just free for all.
Yeah.
But it's the lack of awareness these kids have, the Dunning-Kruger, where they all think they're so much smarter than they are, this entitlement sense. It's like, I was never like that when I was 16, 17, 18 years old. I think a large part of it is because I was raised in, a pretty fucked up household. I had a lot of adversity growing up. Like, I was just, I don't know how to explain it. I feel like that all plays a factor, though, the shit that I went through with how my mindset eventually was. I believe you've talked about the relationship between like AQ, which I never even heard about till you said AQ, but it makes sense, and EQ and IQ and all that stuff, and how the more adversity you deal with directly correlate with the amount of self-awareness you have, the resilience that you have, all that good stuff.
Direct correlation between AQ and EQ, very direct. IQ is somewhat finite.
Yeah.
We do have some people that are able to break through that threshold, but it's the whole inverted U curve type situation. Of course, there's some people. IQ, you kind of got what you're born with. You can obviously enhance it. There's a lower threshold, there's an upper limit threshold. If you read 3 books a week and listen to podcasts instead of music, there's not a chance in hell you're still going to be dumb. So like, that's quite impossible. IQ is much more than just the amount of knowledge that you have. So AQ is, yeah, that adversity quotient. And that's a measure of how quickly you bounce back from adversity. I was having a conversation with my best friend Eric last night. We were sitting on the amenity floor at my place, chatting over the fire. Eric's about to turn 40 this year. I'm turning 31 in May. Both from Ohio, blue collar type situation. Maybe a little bit of a fucked up household. People definitely had it worse than me growing up. People definitely had it better than me growing up. but there's like real shit you've been through. I would say I've been heartbroken like 4 times.
Mm,
I had death at a young age from my grandpa, who was kind of like my father at the time.
mm,
Um, I failed out of being eligible to run track in college, and I had to fix that with my grades. I got kicked out of an apartment when I was in my early 20s, chasing this whole coaching thing, and couch surfed and stuff. But you know what I never did? And it's not because I'm special. It's just because in the time you're so shocked that things are happening. I didn't like really feel sorry for myself. You just have to like plan, like, dude, what am I gonna do? Like, holy
mm,
crap, like I'm broken right now. How do I fix this?
mm,
It's adversity. And like people have had it way worse than me, way worse, and have done way more than I'm doing. Yet in my path, it's like some of these things that are like perceived hard. I don't mean to be insensitive, but like at this point, like how hard can a breakup really be?
mm,
I'm not saying I'd be over it the next day, but it's like, man, like if you've been through some stuff, how hard is a breakup, or how hard? I mean, I think, Peyton turns 7. This is my golden. He's my best fucking friend. And, he's got some gray hairs and he's not as fast as he used to be. I'm watching his mortality set in. And whenever that day comes, it's going to be far, far away. That'll be the hardest thing I've ever gone through. And again, there's other people that have it far worse. But that AQ is such an important qualitative measure of somebody's ability to be coached, somebody's ability to innovate, somebody's ability to disrupt an industry with new ideas, somebody's ability to bounce back from failures. Because, I mean, your mentality around this back surgery, it suggests you have a high AQ. Okay, got to get back surgery. Can't train right now. Too much pain. About to have the craziest transformation you've ever seen and turn pro. Watch this. People with low AQ go in, they get diagnosed. Oh my God, like I've got a low back. Like, coach, like I can't do anything. I can't diet. I can't cardio. I can't this. I can't that. Like, God damn, that's what broke you.
uh-huh,
Like, that's all it took.
uh-huh.
So the AQ is, I think, as again, I'm a little older than you. I'm thinking about having kids. I'm like, how am I going to raise my kids in a world of adversity? I'm going to have to manufacture adversity um, in their life. So it's like, how do you manufacture that without eliciting traumas in those kids? It's quite a conundrum, but AQ is wildly important. I would say AQ is the most important quotients that somebody can practice.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how you would manufacture it because I know the reason why I have it is not, anything that it was done on purpose. It was just it was my perspective of the shitty things that happened. And I was like, this is exactly what I don't want to happen. So I need to create a different environment. But a lot of people fall victim to that as well, where they just, become entrapped in whatever their upbringing is and they think they're doomed to this life, this whatever is brought upon them, and they never escape that. So I don't know. What do you think that is where it's like you're dealt with this adversity because do some people automatically have that higher AQ? Like when I was younger, did I just have that higher AQ where I was just predisposed to being more resilient, or are some people just neurologically wired to the point where they don't have that resilience and it's a lot harder for them to build that up and they're a lot easier to just fall victim to situations? You know what I mean?
Yeah, great question. It's much more nurture than nature. We're not really born with any AQ, similar to how you're not really born with any EQ. What'd your parents do? What did you face? The perfect place to be. It's fascinating. It's in Walter Isaacson's biography he wrote of Elon Musk. Is you need somebody to have broken your heart at someone who you admired broke your heart at the absolute worst time imaginable. For me, that was my father when I was 12 years old. You need to have had something completely fucking traumatic happen to you at another very mildly young age, but not too young to where you don't remember it, but also not too old to where you're too developed for it. For me, that was my parents' divorce. But it can't be too traumatic. You rarely see like rape victims or things of the like at the wrong age be able to bounce back neurologically from that because it's too traumatic, right? So mine was my parents' divorce. I literally thought I wasn't going to wake up the next day after I was told that. Obviously, the sun kept rising. And number three, you have to have somebody that you loved and poured your heart into break your heart at a pivotal time. So a romantic heartbreak. And these three things, if they all happen at the right time, your correlation to success becomes much greater. I've taken it a step further and say if you have all these three things and then you keep your norepinephrine, dopamine, and testosterone all high, you're almost guaranteed to be able to find some success in your life. So, with that being said, to your question, AQ is 100% nurture. David Goggins didn't just wake up and be David Goggins. Now, he has a pain receptor thing that
Mm-hmm.
he still feels pain, but he just feels less than other people, right? That doesn't mean that you just can easily run 100 miles.
Mm-mm.
The dude's still running 100 miles. I don't
Yeah.
care how much you cannot feel pain.
Yeah.
100% nurtured though.
Yeah. Everything you just said, like the 3 points, I could immediately think of everything. It just immediately came to my head. But
And you know what's awesome about you is you're only 25. You're only 25 and you're doing this podcast, you're doing the Instagram thing, you're doing the bodybuilding. You have these three things. You obviously have high testosterone, you create that. Yeah, I don't know, I don't know you outside of meeting. This is the first time we met, I guess, face to face virtually. But if you have high dopamine, high norepinephrine, then I mean, you're literally guaranteed.
yeah.
At that point, you would have to try to not have some sort of impact and success because you're going to have a crippling, insufficient desire to continue to raise up the social hierarchy. And
Mm-hmm.
some people think that's bad. I obviously think that it's fantastic. I think that's what men should do. They should try to get as high on the social hierarchy as they can.
Do you think it's almost a form of aggression?
Yeah.
It is, right?
Control.
It
But
is.
so you can have these things and you have no EQ and you don't know how to control that aggression. We see that with bodybuilders often, low critical thinking,
Uh-huh.
high IQ, low EQ. That's a dangerous place to be. High IQ, low AQ. That's a dangerous place to be. Um, Having the aggression from something like a high testosterone or maybe traumatic past experience, yada yada, without a large amount of emotional quotients is probably not going to end very well for you. But you obviously have that established. So like your path to success, and it's not like you can just let off the pedal, but it's like it's you're pretty much meeting the prereqs to build some success in your life. So tip of the cap to you, man. You're further ahead at 25 than I was. That's for damn sure.
Thank you. I asked though because I remember when I was younger, because I didn't have all those three markers from the start, right? But when I had some of them, and I started bodybuilding seriously when I was 14. It's when I was
Wow.
prepping my meals, training. It's when I had, everything was locked down when I was 14. I'd say that's like the official start age. But
Word.
at that point, what drove me a lot was anger because I was constantly being told this is stupid. You can't make money in this. And everything I did was like, fuck you. I'm going to prove everybody wrong. I saw what was starting to happen on social media and I saw I want to be the next fucking Greg Plitt. I'm going to do this. And then all that other shit started happening too. And it just added up more. But it was like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. Doubt me. Watch me do this. And it just continued. And then it became a point of me like battling myself. Well, it's if I say this and I don't follow through, then how the fuck can I ever even trust anything I say? I'm a failure within my own mind, right? So then it's just this competition. Now it's like if I catch myself doing anything, I'm scrolling on TikTok too long, or I do this, or I'm playing video games. I try to like do it sometimes just to like relax, but I can't even mentally do it most of the time because in my mind it's a waste of time, and I think I should be doing something more productive. And it's like I get mad at myself for doing things that will waste time, but then I get caught in this whole fucking circle where there's no point in wasting energy over something that's already done. So then it's just this fucking whole thing. And I try to just get on
Yeah.
track.
The warped vortex, and finding the midline between, okay, how much video games is enough video games? How much is too much? How much TikTok is enough? How much is too much? Um, and as much as you can be in terms of mental health, I'm talking about, I'm a huge proponent of balancing for mental health. Um, But at the end of the day, if you have these six prereqs that we talked about, your mental health isn't really ever going to be that rock solid. There's always going to be some things. I mean, like, dude, for example, uh, Grower Eye podcast. Every day I hop on and I look at the numbers. I'm like, no way, dude. Fuck. Together More Fitness. I'll hop on. I'll look at revenue. I'll look at client numbers. I'll look at client satisfaction surveys. I'll look at the staff. And I'm like, no way, dude. Fuck. And I walk around with so much anxiety that I'm not doing enough, or I'm not growing, or today's the last day, or why am I not innovating, or what's the next move, or what. I am not enjoying this shit at all. And everything I ever wanted, if you show 25-year-old Justin this guy, he's thrilled. But I'm here and I'm not happy, because what I've learned, and you strike me as the exact same, our lives aren't supposed to be happy. We can feel happiness, but I'm not sure you and I are ever going to reach this place of happy. I'm just happy. I wake up and hunt. I have this joke I put on my close friends on Instagram every morning, 5:30 a.m. Peyton and I are going around town, and I put the camera on him, and I'm like, on our way to pillage. And I'm like, I say that tongue in cheek, like, haha, LOL, like Roman Empire type stuff. But no, dude, like I wake up and conquer, and that makes me happy.
But does it?
Kind of makes me happy.
The closest you get to it.
The closest I can get to it. Makes me fulfilled. It makes me satisfied. It makes me, but then, you go to bed at night and it's like, like, I didn't do enough today. Like, what if it all collapses tomorrow? Like, what am I supposed to do? And listen, I do journaling, I do breath work, I do grounding, I do meditation, I do it all every day. And famine, it's just there, dude.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way, and I don't know if there will ever be any level of, permanent satisfaction. But at the same time, do I want permanent satisfaction? It's what keeps you moving forward. And I think at the end of the day, as long as I can be 60 fucking 70 years old, if I make it that far, that'd be great. Just be able to look back and know that I did enough, or at least provided some type of financial help where I can have this well-off family and create some type of generational wealth. That's really the best that I can do. But as far as actually being satisfied at the end of the day, I feel like that's never, as for right now, I feel like that's never gonna happen.
You wonder, do you have nieces and nephews?
No, I do not.
No. You wonder if kids is what does it. I wonder if kids is what does it. Like, when I have kids, is that going to make me calm down? Is that going to make me happy? I wonder. Not that I want to have them to find out. I want to have them because I think I'm gonna be a dope ass dad. And like, I want to share my life with, like, one woman that I love, and children that I love, and what's been built is awesome. I want them to have a childhood I didn't get to have. You just wonder if that's what it fucking is, man. Like, if that's the code. Because like, I look at Matt Jansen. I feel like he was similar to where you and I are before he had kids, and he has his kids, and dude, he's not complacent, but he's quite satisfied. He has his kids, he has this beautiful marriage, he has so much impact in the industry and Revive, and you just wonder, I don't know. I guess time will tell. I'll come back on the show in 5 years when I have kids and let you know.
I think it definitely I think it plays a factor. I'm not sure if it would create 100% satisfaction within like your own goals, but I do notice a lot of the things that I will say, and the aspirations that I do have, the accomplishments that I want to have, are almost to like satisfy my childhood and give the future potential kids that I would have like what I want. That's why I'll always say shit to Barista. I'll be like, yeah, if I want to build a house, then I want there to be a fucking slide from upstairs to the kitchen. Because I know when I was a kid and I was fucking poor, I wish that would be so fucking cool. So it's like, I want to do all these things and just almost vicariously live through my children to create this fucking awesome life.
Allow them to have an ice cream bar before dinner, dude. I can't wait to do that. I cannot wait to do that, man.
Then you got also, yeah. Then you also got to walk the line of, don't fucking spoil these kids, because you want them to actually, grow up and be good humans and productive.
That's so true. That's so true. I'm gonna struggle with that one.
Yeah, but we'll see. Now, how do you think the adversity directly correlates to the EQ, like self-awareness and all that? Because I think a lot of people lack both, but You're saying they both correlate to one another.
Good question. I don't want to take the science-based side here. I want to make it more my opinion because I'm not quite sure science is where we need it to be on these two metrics, as AQ is a relatively recent phenomenon. I'm going to say 18, 19-year-old man dating somehow he got a 20-year-old girl, a little bit older than him, pretty uncommon. Usually a 20-year-old girl's dating like a 24-year-old dude. He goes all in, pours everything into this woman, everything. She breaks his heart, leaves him for a 25-year-old dude. Okay. What you can do with this is you reflect back. You're going to. So whether it be consciously or subconsciously, you're going to revert back to the patterns that were shown, that were directly in front of you, showing these things were going to happen. And she was using you. She wasn't interested in you. You were just a pandering little boy to her. And that's, it's not really a bad experience to have. The next time you are now batting out of your league a little bit, you're going to be on the lookout for some things. As you enter that relationship, as you're executing that relationship, like, oh, last time I did this and this was the outcome. So this time I'm going to do that and this is the outcome, right? Okay, well, then the issue here is, well, I did all these things and was the perfect man last time. And I said no to these girls and I didn't cheat. So this time I'm going to cheat. Okay, now you're here. You made the opposite decision because that's all that you know. That's all that you have emotionally developed to know. Now there's repercussions to this. Okay, so now you get into the next relationship. Oh, okay, so don't do this and don't do that. So what's in between being way too loyal and cheating? Just right. Having maybe organized chaos or bringing something new to the table or keeping them guessing on what's coming next, but not cheating on them, right? So like this is the development of EQ. And the development of AQ alongside was heartbroken. Oh, did the opposite, heartbroken again. So we don't want that outcome to occur again. So now we change, right? So that little metaphor could really be used for anything in life. For bodybuilding, it's very easy to use. Okay, prep one. Coach told me 100 milligrams of no. Let's do Trenbolone since that has the most negative repercussions mentally. Okay, coach told me 50 milligrams of Trinase every other day. Fuck it, I'm doing 100 a day because it's Tren and it's my first prep and it's the first time. Okay, now feedback is shit. Body's really stressed. Mental is fucked. You got dumped by your girlfriend and all of your friends left you. Next prep. All right, you know what? Like that was a little bit severe. So I'm going to do 50 milligrams a day this time. Okay, now the negative correlation was, or no, actually, let me switch up. Next prep. Not coach, like I can't take Tren, like this, and this happens. Like I'm not going to do it. Okay, now you lose the show. Not saying you win or lose shows over Tren. This is just for the metaphor. And so then the next time it's like, okay, where's the midway point here? Oh, midway point. Just do what my coach tells me to do. Just take the 50 milligrams every other day. Oh, relationship stayed fine. Friends stayed fine. Did well at the show. Like there's only one way to learn it, and every single bodybuilder does that. Every single young man who bats out of his league or has a high volume of women cheats on a girl, a lovely girl. Every single young man also gets heartbroken by a girl who's a little bit out of his league at some point. Mm-hmm. Every single young bodybuilder takes too much steroids and sees negative repercussions. And then they overshoot by demonizing steroids, and then they too see the negative repercussions. So the only way through is you have to go through those experiences. You have to fuck up. You have to put yourself in adverse environments and situations to like realize who the fuck you are. We're too safe. We're way too safe nowadays. Just in this world, in our little environment of the world, if anyone's listening to this podcast, they're by definition really fucking safe. Mm-hmm. People on the front lines in Ukraine probably aren't listening to this podcast, right? They're busy doing something.
Yeah.
People listen, they're walking their dog or they're driving to work in the morning, their safe job. They're walking their dog in a safe neighborhood, and they're walking with things playing in their ears because they don't have to look out behind them. So you have to like get unsafe. not, physically, I hope, but you have to get a little unsafe.
Yeah, so all these things that develop EQ are pretty similar to things that would develop AQ. They
Hand
kind of
in
go hand in hand, which is making me I just realize like the reason why I probably have excelled. I don't like to talk about myself because I feel like I'm being egotistical, but it's just like the prime example that I could
not talk
give.
about yourself.
But it's the reason why I would consider that I would probably have a high EQ or AQ is I've gone through a lot of shit for somebody my age. And Marissa will always tell me like your life is like a movie, which I think again is like a little exaggerated, but the fact is I just have a lot of fucking experiences. I was kicked out of my house. I was on my own. I had a million jobs. I had a lot of relationships from a young age, heartbroken, did the whole thing. I went to jail for 3 months. I've had all these experiences, and objectively they might not all be, the worst case area. Other people have shit that's harder, but I think all of that with what you're saying is really what's been all these contributing factors that have gotten me to where I am now. And most people, I guess nowadays, really don't have a lot of experiences. A lot of people are safe. There's a lot of everybody's soft. Kids aren't going out. And when we were in high school, we were going out fucking taking over foreclosed houses and throwing house parties in. Like we were doing crazy shit all the time. And I feel like I'm not in high school now. I don't see shit like that happening.
I know. To touch on that, one thing to remember, it can't be too bad. It can be bad, but it can't be too bad. You can go to jail for 3 months. You can't go to a maximum security lockdown prison for 3 months. Or, you can be safe in a gated neighborhood community, but you can't be on your own fucking island where no one can even reach you, right? So it's like, it's kind of that paradigm of, well, it has to be enough, but it can't be too much. The emotional component of all of this comes into play with the feedback that we give ourselves in our head and our ability to accurately recall. I mean, all around, I'm looking at one right there. I've got another one right there. I've got journals all throughout my house. I've got this mind map right back there. I've got things everywhere that I put my emotions into so that I can cognizantly stay aware of them. What makes me sad? What makes me happy? What makes me mad? What makes me angry? What happened to me? What happened for me? What did I do to somebody else? All of those things. So you can go through the same three scenarios I went through earlier with, say, a relationship. And every single relationship, too loyal, dumped, too loyal, dumped, too loyal, dumped. That's because you're not reflecting back. You're not reflecting back on the processes that went down, and that's low EQ. But you can have high AQ because you keep getting dumped, yet you keep waking up tomorrow and you still keep getting a new girlfriend. So that's high AQ, but low EQ. You have to change your behaviors to change your outcomes, and that's where EQ comes in. EQ changes outcomes. AQ changes how fast you bounce back, how resilient you are, and obviously IQ just changes your consumption of information.
Because it has to be a conscious effort. It's not just because this is what I'm trying to get at is people could have gone through all the same shit that I could have, and they would be a completely different person, and they might just victimize themselves and be broke and say all women suck, fuck women, and carry that with them for the rest of their lives. But how do people gain that perspective to look back and really have that self-awareness? Because I can remember the moment when it happened for me when I was in jail, and someone gave me a book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And that literally changed my life.
In my living room. That's so funny.
Yeah, that changed my life. It changed the way I viewed literally every situation and moving forward from that point on. And I've recommended it to so many people and it's helped them a lot. But somebody who didn't have that experience, like for you, example, how did you eventually get to that point where you had enough self-awareness to reflect and decide you're not the victim? Maybe, you didn't deserve that girl, or you were the fuck up, or you're the problem in this, you're the problem in the business. You need to change this rather than always looking for an external excuse.
Yeah, really good question. It's another luxury belief or maybe a luxury characteristic that I have because I'm such an innovator. I'm such a unique thinker that every time something happens, I had an employee quit yesterday. Okay, what's going on? You're maniacal to work with. Like it's really challenging to work with you. I feel like I'm continually letting you down. Okay, great information, great feedback. You were letting me down. So what do I do to now foster a different environment for someone similar who comes in but is able to like really make it? Well, I have to change my processes, right? So what I do is every Tuesday, I have my staff send me these wellness check-in reports. These wellness check-in reports are 100% a collection of their thoughts about me, the company, the vision, and all of that stuff. It's their open-ended memo to say whatever they want to say. Talk about self-awareness. It punches you in the face every single Tuesday. What do they like? What do they not like? Yada, yada. So for me, it was very easy to, okay, pattern, recognize, outcome, not good, disrupt the pattern. For other people who might be more straightforward thinkers, a little bit less atypical or a little bit more typical neurotically, you just, dude, there's no hack. You have to make the choice. I'm going to write down what happened, what I liked, what I disliked in my last 3 relationships, or my last 3 preps, or with my last 3 coaches, or with my last whatever. And man, am I the problem? And in the fitness industry, I mean, we have a lot of people that it's on their 6th, 7th, 8th coach. I mean, what the fuck are you doing? What do you mean? How in the are you on your 8th coach? I did it for 10 years and had 3 coaches. Like, what the fuck do you mean you're on 8 coaches? And like, that's not that there is nothing that the coach is doing that's wrong at that point. It's 100% the athlete, but there's just not a lot of critical thinking. And any vain industry, it's the same with modeling, it's the same with cheerleading, it's the same with combat sports. It's any vain industry, you're going to have lower levels of critical thinking ability. Which I would say is kind of a culmination of all these 3 quotients. There's more quotients, but these 3 are the ones we're focusing on the most. You just make the choice to, oh man, this is going to hurt really fucking bad. It's going to pierce your soul. You're going to feel sick to your stomach when you're reflecting on the things you've done to people. But that's kind of the only way forward. So you don't have a choice but to look at it and walk through.
That's what I'm saying though. So you saw that, like the thing with the employee, and you decided, what do I need to change, right? How did you get from there to I need to change instead of this employee's the problem? Like, was it something with the way you were brought up? Did you meet somebody when you're younger that enforced that mentality on you? Or do you think that type of awareness to some degree is nature? It's just the way that you develop, or I feel like it is a lot more nurture, but a lot of people
Definitely.
aren't exposed to that.
Yeah. 27 years old, I was at Junior USA's in Charleston, South Carolina, and like everything fell apart. Like my entire company fell apart, my social group fell apart, my every single thing fell apart. And I had a phone call with somebody who was in my life, and she was a former client, but she'd become a friend. She was a massage therapist. And somehow, whatever I heard from her really struck it in me that, and I realized I'm at rock bottom. And I'm at rock bottom, but I have, at the time I had already established a pretty big name as a coach. I had a lot of really good athletes. We were making a lot of money. I thought that I was happy because I had athletes winning and I was making a lot of money, but you realize that's not happiness whatsoever. All that's doing is enhancing your ego that's completely out of control. So I went to complete rock bottom. And you know what? I've had people on my show talk about how addicts overcome the addiction, like heroin addicts. How do they decide to stop? Because they get to a point where you realize there's 2 paths. The next dose I take, I'm dying, or I can stop right now. And it's stronger than the addiction. The human willpower to live for them is stronger than the addiction. So they choose that route and they decide to make the change. But truly getting to rock bottom, and actually, Sebastian, it's crazy. This podcast with Mark Rector that I did changed my perspective on it. I never gave homeless people money. I got a little cash on me, and now I will. You know why? Because yeah, they're not going to spend on food. Yes, they are going to go spend it on drugs, and you might be helping them get closer to that rock bottom so they can make their fucking decision. And at the end of the day, you're actually helping them by doing that. You're not helping them by giving them food that they now have to barter for something else, and yada yada. They want drugs and they're going to go get it. It's like, dude, that podcast changed my perspective significantly from someone who lived it, who went to rock bottom, who was at that place of next dose, I'm dead.
Mm-hmm.
And now He's this massive, massive advocate. He has his PhD coming up. He's just unbelievably well versed, but he's doing a lot of really impactful stuff here in Austin to help because, for that, like we miss the forest for the trees a little bit. But you just got to make the choice. You probably got to go to rock bottom. You probably got to make a choice. I knew everything that was going wrong before I decided to make a change. I mean, it was
Mm.
like, dude, it's right in front of you.
Yeah.
Every single answer is right in front of you. You have to go through the muck to change. But when you're at rock bottom, like, well, I can either shut down the company and not do anything and just fall back into complacency, or I can literally be a fucking phoenix and rise from the ashes and make a difference in the world, a positive difference in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think most people just don't get to that point where they have to,
It's
even
hard
at
to get
the,
rock bottom. It's hard to get there. You got to have people around you that love you to actually let you get to rock bottom when you're problematic.
yeah.
So I was fortunate to have that. I was problematic, but I have people that love me enough to not stop me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it definitely is nurture because you remember high school, you remember kids getting relationships because everybody has that same mentality. Their first breakup, fuck that bitch, fucking stupid whore. Everybody's the victim. Your first girlfriend, you're always the victim. Fuck bitches. And then you see, guys get more self aware as they age and like, oh, like I probably fucked up or this or that. There's more awareness, but yeah, there's
I am the
definitely
reason every one of my relationships has ever ended.
there you go. And the best thing you could do is the way I see everything is the best thing you could do, even if it's not your fault, is to always take accountability for every situation that
Dude, I
happens
tell
to you
you,
in life.
that's what leaders do. It might not be my fault. Like, it might not be my fault the employee left my company, but it is. I'm going to
Mhm.
choose for it to be because it keeps power in my court. It
Exactly.
means something I can change. Never give power up. If you start blaming and deflecting, that's giving the other person the power. If you talk shit about somebody else, they have power over you. For blaming or deflecting, they have power over you. Don't fucking give that shit out. Don't do that.
I think it's an easier way for just people to live with excuses rather than doing something that's fucking hard and being uncomfortable. Because people will sit here and say, "Oh, well, the reason why I'm not successful is because I don't know how to post on social media. I'm not good. The fucking algorithm hates me. People get lucky." It's like, all right, well, you can make all these excuses. So now what? You just basically said it's out of your control, out of your power, and you're basically doomed to be fucked for life. So what do you want to do about that? Just sit here and complain, or are we going to do something? And that's
Yep.
yeah, that's all it comes down to.
Yep. Yep. I love that because the complaining's so much easier, dude. It's so much easier to do, but goddamn, that should get you nowhere. Again, then you're in the vortex, then you're in the cycle, then you're just the victim mentality is fucking disgusting, and that is contagious. It's victims and laziness. That
Yeah.
shit sounds like cancer throughout environments.
Exactly. That's why I was trying to get at, how you develop that because a lot of people, I know I was raised around people who just blamed everything on the world, victims. You grow up, usually if you grow up with like poor parents, that's how you kind of grow up, fuck the
Yep.
world, that's why we're fucked. And people adopt the mentality. So when you're around, that's all you're surrounded by. It's very hard to get out of that. It's like you're in this hole and you kind of need to find people that have that mentality and almost they just not like brainwashed. You just need to be exposed to it. You need to
Yeah.
see the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah, I agree 100% with that. Uh, Cognitive bias. We love acting like we're okay, but none of us are. Not a single fucking one of us are. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm broken than anybody else, and like I'll sit here and chat about it too.
So, how do you think with what's going on now with? I'm sure you already know with the optimal training, all this shit. People are so meticulous, and there's a time and place to understand science, and there's a lot of good information. I think it's a lot of good information that's being spewed at the wrong crowd. I think it's
Yeah,
elite level information that's so meticulous. It's being spewed at novice level lifters who really it plays almost no factor to, and everybody kind of looks for the easier way to do things because they are under the assumption that it's the most optimal. When everybody's kind of almost getting away from really just training fucking hard and testing yourself, worried about fatigue, is it going to fuck with my recovery? And they've never actually even found the threshold to how hard they can push themselves. And I think this is something that all, like seasoned bodybuilders, elite level bodybuilders, they all have that high AQ. They all know how to fucking be super resilient. They have that almost like mental issues. I don't know if it's mental issues, but
Yeah.
the trauma, and that fuels the training, and that's what gets them the furthest. I love to go in the gym and just fucking act like an animal. It's basically just, it's just like I'm in the fucking wild. As corny as that might sound, it's just adrenaline, and I'm just testing myself as hard as I could go. And yes, there's logic behind the decisions and intelligent programming, but it's not like I'm restrained to, I'm so worried about fatigue and this. It's every set I'm giving it my fucking all, and that's what feels the best, and that's what gets me the furthest. So do you think that's an issue now, and how people don't have that?
At the end of the day, until you're a very hypermuscular individual, the only thing that matters is you're pushing yourself further in the gym than the last session. It's like, dude, we can focus on volume, we can focus on reps, we can focus on load, we can focus on tempo, we can focus on mechanics. Dude, and like until you're really muscular, what matters is you're pushing your body harder in the gym today than you did the last time you trained that body part. Now, with that, mechanics very much so come into play. But if we sit here and talk about training to failure, 1 RIR or 2 RIR, dude, the reality behind that is it's pretty useless unless you've been doing this for a very long time and you actually know what that is. And it is really hard to find. If you've been bodybuilding, like bodybuilding, not training, if you've been bodybuilding for less than 4 or 5 years, you don't have a prayer at knowing what those things are and what
Mm-mm.
they like. You need to focus on, does your body hurt more when you leave the gym today than it did the last time you left the gym? And when you start getting to the hypermuscular place, that's when the other things come in. That's when you start kind of undulating your training, if you will. And I think that's when you get much more meticulous and you start looking at the Justin Shires, or like if you're looking on my roster, Alston Hodges, Simon Klaus, the Ben Evans, David Marshall, those guys. The training execution, Alston Tokaro, my assistant coaches, Isaiah Searay, the training execution of these guys is fucking spectacular. But they're all monsters.
Mm-hmm.
They're all beasts.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you're not a beast and you're trying to emulate the way that a beast trains, it's not going to work well for you. You need to get messy. You, to be honest with you, dude, I hate saying this, but you need to have small injuries to teach you a lesson. And if you're not training hard enough to have small injuries, not back surgery, but small injuries, then you're not learning any lessons in the gym. This shit hurts. When you train, you are causing trauma to your body. This shit's supposed to fucking hurt
Yeah.
bad. It's supposed to suck. And man, I mean, I see kids just like when I go to the gym, I'm like doing a lot of machine plate loaded stuff now. Like I'm retired. I'm just trying to be the strongest podcaster in the world, bro. But you see kids like on these plate loaded machines, like a plate loaded row or something, use a 25 on each side. And I'm just like, bro, go get that motherfucking barbell. The
Yeah.
fuck machine, go grab that barbell.
Uh-huh. She's a fucking
But
move.
yeah, I think until you work your way up into higher levels of training, like, man, dumbbells and barbells are such an unbelievable tool that can teach you pain versus hurt versus injury versus muscle build. And you have to have that. If you're 5 years in, if you've never been injured, you are not training hard, period.
Define injured.
I can't train today because I think I strained a little bit. I think I strained my quad a little bit. I think I went a little bit too heavy.
Okay.
I think my recovery is lagging because of this. I think you just went too hard.
Not something you need to actually go to the hospital for.
Yeah, not something you need to go to the hospital for. That's straight stupid.
Yeah.
Or you're just unlucky.
I've said this before, and I got a lot of shit for saying it before. I've said it numerous times that if you've never thrown up during legs, you've never trained legs hard.
Never train legs. I
You've
agree.
never trained legs hard. And a lot of people, oh, how the fuck would I throw up? It's just you don't know that threshold. You've never pushed yourself that hard to understand.
The nervous system response, same reason you throw up during track practice or football practice. It's the nervous system being like, dude, I I I am so sympathetically driven right now that I have to get this stuff out of my stomach. I can't keep it down. It's not about the physicality of it. It's you push your nervous system that fucking hard that the response was you threw up. Yeah, I do think you need to learn that. Now, you don't want to chase that every single leg day, but
Yeah.
like you're ready to, you need to chase that. You need to take a fucking leg press set to a place where you literally cannot walk after the leg press set. You need to take a set of RDLs one rep too far, where it's like, oh, that didn't feel right. That didn't feel good. My hamstring tweaked a little bit. Like, dude, you got to be able to fucking do that shit, man. You're not gonna tear your shit off the bone the first time you do it. That takes a ton of work and tension to do.
Takes a lot of fucking weight. You need to be
Ton.
massive at that point for something to happen. It's not going to happen with 225.
Ever seen a skinny ass dude tear his bicep doing deadlifts, huh?
No, I haven't.
I've only ever seen a big ass motherfucker do it. I've never seen a 200-pound bench tear a pec.
No,
Like,
but
you gotta be huge.
yeah, I think it's everybody gets so scared. They don't want to overdo it. It's all this information being spewed at them. Don't go to failure, or which is crazy that's even being said. The fear of fatigue. Why would I do this? I'll program crazy shit sometimes. Obviously, there's intelligent. I'm not just driving a bunch of fatigue and stress throughout the roof, but I'll do, all right, we're going to do a rest pause set, and I want you to aim for 20 reps on the first set for a leg press, and I want you to go there. And they'll be like, why would I do that? Why don't I just do 4 to 6 reps? And I'll just say, don't ask me something fucking stupid like that again.
Dumb as fuck. What do you mean why I do that? Because I told you.
They don't
'Cause
want to
that's
test themselves.
like I will take a set of 20 on, I mean, almost any movement that's not a barbell focused movement. I'll take a set of 20 over a set of 10 every single day of the week. Dead ass. I would. 25-year-old Justin wouldn't, but I would.
Well, it's also just for what, like I said, to teach people that threshold, because you've been coaching for 11 years. I've only been coaching for full time for 4 now. And I don't know, you have your clients send you form evaluation videos, right? Like, and you send me your top sets, and 9 out of 10 times it's not fucking failure, especially if they're not like a seasoned lifter. It's like, you had at least 5 to 10 more here. What do you mean this is your top working set to failure? So then you tell them to actually do something that requires a rest pause or higher intensity or go harder. They're much more likely to hit that point and get to that threshold because they're forced to, rather than just doing 8 to 12 and what they think is failure, but it's really just them staying comfortable. You need to force them to get out of that comfortability.
I agree with that very heavily. When I have someone come to me and they're quite under muscled, we're going to be hitting so many drop sets and rest pulses. Because if you're under muscled, you don't know how to take a straight set to failure. Now, the inverse would also be true. If I have someone come to me and they've got a really developed physique on them, then we're probably not going to do a ton of drop sets and rest pulses because the stimulus difference is just not going to. You're gonna, at that point, you know how to take every single set that you do, whether it's a compound movement, isolation movement, anything. You're gonna be able to take every single set that you do to a highly stimulating place. So intensifiers, I definitely use intensifiers in my bigger people, but just on like arms and delts, and we're not hitting a set of cable rows on an intensifier if you know how to train.
Yeah.
Just me, like I've done it. I'm cool with it. Fuck, I'll probably hit one tomorrow. I got a buddy training with me tomorrow, like hitting a fucking drop set on cable row sounds fun as hell and competitive, but like I wouldn't say it's like superior to muscle building and fatigue management for someone who's very advanced. Whereas for someone who's not extremely advanced, yeah, you probably need to be hitting as many intensifiers as you possibly can, which is probably nearly every set in the gym.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's different. When you're more experienced, you're able to push yourself to a different level, and it's gonna create much more fatigue. And you could remember when you're younger. I'm sure you've trained people in person too. I've trained plenty of people in person. You could see the difference in the response from implementing these intensifiers or different rep ranges, and you could see how somebody who is under muscled, newer, can literally do like triple drop sets on everything and still keep moving. But then if I do a triple drop set or leg press, the workout's over. That's it. It's over. It's over.
Isn't that fascinating? You can give some people like 15 intensifiers in a session, but god damn, if I do one, I'm out.
Yeah. But then those people, because they see this information, they think that they shouldn't do it. They should stay away from it. People don't understand that what's optimal is not this black and white thing just because there's research or this study or this paper that says so and you saw some fucking TikTok about it. There's context that's needed. It's all dependent on the individual. There's a lot of variables that go into play. You can't just say that this rep range is the most optimal because it reduces the most amount of fatigue. It's like, is that really applicable for you? How much of a difference is that going to make? Is it going to prevent you from actually even being able to recover, or is it going to really help you in the long run? And people don't think about
Yeah.
all those things.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It goes back to the advancement that you have in your bodybuilding career. Dude, actually, did you see what's that dude's name? Anton, the dude that won nationals in classic physique.
Yeah, that was
Uh,
my show.
yeah, it was. He fucking dude. He posted some transformation that popped up on my page the other day, like his 2 year, 3 year, some shit transformation. That's just absolute insanity. And I wondered, like, my thought process when I saw it literally last night was exactly our conversation. Like, I wonder what his training looks like. Because obviously it's a very advanced physique. Obviously, he's very new to all this too. And I was like, I wonder what that guy's training looks like. Like, is he doing straight sets? Is he even proficient enough? Because he's so young, he probably hasn't even exhausted all the intensifiers that you can use. Um, to progress and to drive fatigue at that age. It's dude, that guy's fucking nuts.
I would assume it's probably a lot of crazy shit. I know I could testify that when I was 21, and it was honestly still the biggest I've been when I was 21, which is crazy because just the amount of shit that's happened over the past 3 years. But we'll be back after surgery. But everything I was doing at that point was I was training fucking crazy, and I was training with this guy. His name's Wadi in Denver. I'm not sure if you know who that is. It's at Armbrust. He's a trainer at Armbrust, and he would just have me do crazy fucking shit, like crazy shit that you would never think to program. All right, slow down 5 seconds. All right, hold it here. Like just constantly change it up. Like what the fuck's going on? I feel dead after one set, but I was the strongest and biggest I ever was at that point in my training career.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Success leaves clues. The only issue is some point it's going to backfire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like you're doing 5 second negatives with like 365 pounds on a bench press. But if you're doing it with 275 is way different, right? So
yeah, definitely. But then that also comes back to, I also think that whole pushing yourself, which a lot of these kids are trying to stray away from, because the gym is a competition with yourself, right? A lot of people don't see it that way. They don't see training as a skill, trying to constantly improve. But when you're pushing yourself balls to the wall, trying to train like an animal, and you see it as this competition with yourself, like how much fucking more do you have? Like you really get into your head and tap into that place. Like you have more, like you're not a fucking pussy, and you don't have to be screaming out loud if you want to, sure. But like just getting into that competition with yourself where you're basically like mad at yourself if you fail this set or don't beat it, it probably develops that AQ. And that is what really, because you've always heard bodybuilders talk about this, and they'll probably talk about it less now with this new generation, is that how bodybuilding transfers into all these other areas of life and helps you create this discipline. But you need to create it there first and create that competition.
Mm-hmm. I think your training session should be the absolute hardest thing that you do in the day. And that's up to you to make. If you're going to get dumped by your girlfriend today, your training session should be harder than that. I really feel that way.
Yeah. I think it's just being straight away from too much. So hopefully it's brought back. That we just need influences in the industry to really bring back that mentality.
I agree with that. I love showing like my clients' training footage. It's like it's one thing if it's like you doing it. It's like, well, like I would expect Justin to train hard, but like when you see like my clients' training footage, I notice that there's always a little uptick in the training videos that I get later on that night. A little bit more effort, like a little bit more sauce. You know what I'm saying?
Competition.
Like, yeah, it's exactly. They're not in competition with me, but they're definitely in competition with the other clients on the roster, and I love that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even realize that, because now that you said that, I do have clients that will mention like other clients that I have, and they're like, I just want to fucking look like that. Like it's almost like a competition to them because there's just they see the ones that I post. So that is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But all right, man, we're pulling up on an hour and a half here, so I don't want to hold you too long. Is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to talk about real quick?
Dude, I appreciate you having me on. Ever since you and I have met, you've been a supporter. I appreciate that. So we're gonna have a really good show on Grow or Die here soon. So you guys make sure to check that out. And if you give the podcast a listen, actually tomorrow for that 4 year anniversary episode, Andrew Jack is coming on. He's never done a podcast. He doesn't do interviews. He doesn't do nothing. He came on just for mine. So that was pretty sick. He's a very introverted dude, but man, we had incredible conversations. So I think for your people, that one could be pretty good. But yeah, for your people also, make sure when Sebastian's online to come check it out. I'd love that. But I appreciate you, man. You're fantastic what you do. I definitely respect your work a ton.
Yeah, same to you, man. Thanks for coming on, and I will talk to you next week on your podcast.
Yes, sir. See you then.
Yep. Thanks for tuning in, guys.